Ironheart. The official synopsis is supposed to be about Riri Williams coming back to Chicago and then discovering dangerous threads that can bring danger and adventure. So I'm sure it's going to be more about the conflict that Riri has with Anthony Ramos' characters, The Hood. You know, it's supposed to be about science versus magic, butting heads and whatnot. So I think that could be really cool to explore. And yeah, speaking of which, we got more casting announcements. Alden Ehrenreich as Joe McGillicuddy, Lyric Ross as Natalie Washington, and she's supposed to be Riri's best friend. Matthew Elam as Xavier Washington, Angie White as Ronnie Williams, who's Riri's mother, Manny Montana as Cousin John, and Shay Cooley as Slug. And we also have Cree Summer and Sacha Baron Cohen in undisclosed roles, but there's rumors that Sacha Baron Cohen might be actually playing Mephisto, and maybe he'll be like a dark mentor to Anthony Ramos' character. So we'll see how that goes. I know that Mephisto's been teased since, WandaVision, with like people thinking that he's going to pop up ever since then. So it'd be really funny if Marvel actually finally put him within the MCU, in a live action series. So we'll see how it goes with that and if he actually ends up being Mephisto. But yeah, hopefully he is. But I'm not super familiar with the character, so I'm not like super excited, or I don't think I'll be super disappointed if he wasn't in it. But I think it'd be really cool to have that tie-in for the people who really are excited to see him. And then back in January of this year, Dominic Thorne, who plays Riri Williams, said that filming's been officially completed and that additional photography happened between February and April this past year. Again, I think that's really good. I know the show is supposed to come out way back in the day, but it's been kind of like pushed further and further down the schedule. It's supposed to come out sometime in 2025. So we'll see how it goes. But anytime that Marvel has time to like breathe with productions and have time to like rewrite scripts or refilm scenes, I think is a good idea. So yeah, I definitely think that's good. And then in March of this year, Brad Winterbaum said that editing has begun. So I'm glad that it's finally in post-production. Dominic Thorne and Anthony Ramos presented the show at the Disney Upfronts back in May and confirmed that it'll be coming out in 2025. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for Ironheart. We haven't really seen too much of it, so I can't really get super excited, but I really liked her character in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, so I'm really excited to see a show centered around her. It's supposed to be 6 episodes, so it won't be too much of a commitment to watch, for people who, didn't respond to her character or didn't respond to the movie. But yeah, I'm excited to see more with her and excited to see her more within the Marvel Cinematic Universe once we get to Doomsday and Secret Wars. We also got some new updates for Ironheart with the D23 Expo, and apparently footage was shown, which people are describing it as kind of like a crime thriller. It's supposed to be about Riri Williams and how she was actually kicked out of MIT, probably because of all the controversy she has about being this kind of new Iron Man, so to speak, at the end of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and probably all the tension that comes with that. And then she's kind of like at a loss for everything. She's kind of independently funding her own projects and she's not getting money from MIT, and she's trying to find different ways in order to be the person she wants to be. So apparently she's supposed to be teaming up with Anthony Ramos' character, The Hood, and they're going to have somewhat of an alliance, and I'm sure The Hood's going to have like some kind of like darker motivations in order to bring Riri over to the dark side, and then Riri's going to have to somehow fight that, and then that's where their conflict's going to collide. So I'm really excited for that. And then I guess a couple images were shown as well, but yeah, I'm pretty excited for Ironheart. I know like not everyone's excited for it, but like I said before, I liked Riri's character in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, so it'd be cool to see her own series. And again, it's only 6 episodes, so people don't have to commit too much with it. But yeah, I'm excited for the show, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. And we got a couple updates for Ironheart. We got a couple more bits of footage from the 85th anniversary video for Marvel and for the Disney Plus Look Ahead video. Definitely got more clips that were hinted back in the D23 Expo footage of Riri trying to build something undeniable. And then we definitely got a lot more footage of her in her Ironheart suit, which looks really cool. We got more hints of Anthony Ramos as the Hood, and definitely more hints of the team up that they're going to be having. Of Riri trying to find more ways to build this machinery, but obviously she doesn't have the funds to do it, so she's going to have to team up with the Hood in order to find ways to get the funds in order to build this machinery. And Parker Robbins kind of hinting at like, oh, in order to do that, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of things. So yeah, definitely hinting at not only like the alliance that they'll be having, but also like the tension and the potential battle they'll have to be facing towards the end. But yeah, we didn't get like too much footage. We definitely got a lot of clips of her in her suit flying around, going like, let's go, and all this stuff. From what we got, it looks like really, really fun and really, really interesting. And we also got confirmation that's supposed to come out on June 24th of 2025. So yeah, that totally makes sense. I know a little while ago it was hinted that it was supposed to come out in September, which would kind of interfere with Phase 6, because I know like the first film for Phase 6 is Fantastic Four First Steps, which is supposed to come out in July. So to have those things overlap would be kind of confusing. So it definitely makes more sense that this is supposed to come out in June of 2025 and that Fantastic Four is supposed to come out in July of 2025. And since there's only supposed to be about 6 episodes, it should start to wrap up before Fantastic Four First Steps comes out. So that'll be good wrap up for Marvel Phase 5 and then set us up perfectly for Marvel Phase 6. So yeah, overall, I'm still excited for Ironheart. I'm not like crazy excited for it, not like, a couple other shows and movies, but I mean, I think it could still be fun. Again, just a simple one and done story, picking up storylines that we left off with Black Panther Wakanda Forever as far as Riri's story, and then setting her up for her kind of larger debut within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, from what I see, it looks really fun, really cool, and I'm still excited for it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. And after several months of hearing nothing, we finally got some updates for Ironheart. Back in May of this year, a teaser featurette, including new footage as well as an interview with Ryan Coogler, was released, and I thought it was pretty good. Ryan was talking about all the different comic books that inspired him when he was a kid, and then eventually as he got older, he found out about the character of Ironheart by Brian Michael Bendis, who also did the Miles Morales Spider-Man. So I thought that was pretty cool, although for some reason the footage didn't really seem natural. It seemed kind of like it was a little bit scripted, like Disney and Marvel are trying to market this show as best as they can, and I'm really hoping that's good in the end, and they're not trying to hide the quality of this series due to the fact that it might be poor, kind of like Echo was, where they didn't really market the series as well, and they were kind of like hiding stuff with the marketing, and they were kind of trying to hide certain aspects of the series, and the fact that they kind of dumped it all in one day, and there were only 5 episodes. But I'm hoping that that's not the case with this show, and that's actually pretty good. But it was really cool hearing more about Riri Williams and her journey after the events of Wakanda Forever, and seeing the different obstacles she's going to be facing in this series, especially with Anthony Ramos as the Hood, and how they're going to be working together to create something iconic and undeniable. So we'll definitely see how it goes. But I'm probably going to just keep my expectations low, just so that I won't be disappointed. But again, we'll see what happens once the actual series is released. And the next day, an official poster and new trailer was released, and I think the poster actually looks pretty cool. It's definitely giving me some of those Iron Man vibes, especially the early sequences where Iron Man is first making a suit. And now that Legacy is kind of continuing with Ironheart, which I know they're trying to heavily market, with Ironheart trying to be like a successor to Iron Man, even though they had no interaction within the Infinity Saga, and it seemed like Spider-Man was going to be the true successor to Iron Man. But since Spider-Man's kind of wrapped up with Sony, I guess that really wouldn't work as well. So now they have Ironheart. So we'll see if she can actually take up that mantle. But just kind of jumping into the trailer, it definitely seems like Ironheart is definitely going to be a version of Iron Man, just a little bit bulkier and not have the iconic red and gold, but it looks like she's going to have more of like whites and blues and a little bit of gold. And I think it's kind of funny that she wants to build something iconic, but it's pretty much just like another version of an Iron Man suit. So maybe they'll address that in this series, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just continuing the trailer, I think it actually looks pretty cool. It starts off with the whole escape room sequence, which I definitely wasn't expecting at all, just to show how clever that Riri Williams can be in these kind of situations. And then that's when she comes face to face with Anthony Ramos' character, the Hood, which is really cool. I love Anthony Ramos, like I was saying earlier. I love him in like Hamilton, In the Heights, and I know he's also been in other movies like Transformers and Twister, and he's really starting to become like an up and coming name, so I think that was really cool. And we also get more into the other side characters. It was really cool seeing Jim Rash as the dean of MIT in there, trying to wrangle Riri in all her experiments. We saw Alden Ehrenreich, and I'm sure he's going to be like a kind of like a shady business character, trying to tempt Riri into her kind of darker tendencies. And then we got more of the side characters like Riri's mom and Natalia Washington. And we also got a reveal of Mae Montana's character. He'll be playing a character named H.R. John, who's a knife-wielding member of Robin's gang. And we saw a couple clips of him in the trailer. There's one shot of him offering a business card to Riri, and then another shot of him and then 2 other gang members entering that laboratory. He's flipping his knife, all intimidating. So I think that could be really interesting. And we'll see what else his character brings. But overall, I thought the trailer was really cool. It was pretty fun, pretty action-packed, and pretty clever. So hopefully that'll be the tone going into the series, and we'll see how it goes. And at the end of the trailer, it was announced that there'd be a 3-episode premiere on June 24th, and that the rest of the episodes will be released weekly. So that'll be interesting, kind of like what Disney Plus did with Andor with a 3-episode premiere. So we'll see how that goes. I know there's been a lot of rumors that Disney's trying to push out this show as quickly as possible, just to wrap up Phase 5 so we can get into Phase 6 with Fantastic Four First Steps. So I don't really know if that's an indication of the quality of the show, that they're just trying to rush it as soon as possible. But again, we'll see what happens on the 24th, and fingers crossed, hopefully it's good, and hopefully it'll be a good wrap up to Phase 5 and lead into Phase 6. But I have a feeling it'll probably be more self-contained and it won't really have too many connections to Phase 6, so probably just wrap up storylines from Wakanda Forever and then have Riri have her own kind of self-contained adventure. So we'll see what happens with that. And then also early this month, we got another new trailer, kind of explaining more of the story and the characters a little bit more, kind of showing more action and comedy and more of the fun moments and all the character interactions. Then we definitely see more tension between Riri and the Hood, where the Hood definitely has a lot of supernatural powers, and it looks like they're going to kind of integrate that into Riri's suit and all the conflict that she's having with like her friends and her family of like, oh, you shouldn't trust this guy. So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole storyline unravels and the conflict that eventually ensues between Riri and the Hood. So that's going to be really exciting. We also get more clips of Riri's AI. It looks like Lyra Cross's character is going to be her version of Jarvis, where instead of just being like a disembodied voice, she's actually going to be like a projection that she can interact with. So that's going to be interesting. Hopefully they don't get too jokey with her character, because I know they had jokes with her in the trailer and I didn't really laugh at them too much. I was kind of like, okay. So hopefully that was just for the trailer, and hopefully her character won't be too annoying or too jokey or too snarky, but she'll actually have some like heart and personality and be kind of like a good partner for Riri and a good like conscious for her as she kind of navigates this whole conflict with the Hood. So we'll see how that goes. Also earlier this month, we got an official clip showing a conversation between Riri and the Hood, kind of an expansion on what we saw in the trailer of Riri wanting to build something iconic and the Hood pretty much explaining like no one's ever built anything iconic without making tough decisions. So I'm not really sure where this scene is going to take place within the series. I'm pretty adventure is probably going to take place probably within the first episode, just to kind of establish their relationship and establish that temptation that Ryu might be feeling. So it's something going to be interesting. And like I said before, I like anything that Anthony Ramos is in. You know, he had me from Hamilton, so it's really cool seeing him in this kind of role. And it'll be interesting to see his arc throughout the series of being like a somewhat ally to Riri at the beginning and then eventually becoming like an arch enemy for her. And also earlier this month, a Marvel Studios Legend episode focusing on the character of Riri Williams was released. And it's pretty much just a recap of everything that we've seen her in Wakanda Forever. There's not really anything else there. It's really mostly for the people who either haven't seen Wakanda Forever in a really long time or just haven't watched it in general and don't really know too much about the character of Riri. So there's not really much to break down there, but I think it's a really good recap for the character and kind of reintroduces the audience to her just so that we're ready to see her in Ironheart. And then finally, early this month, another behind-the-scenes featurette was released, showing more of the filmmaking behind the series, as well as the cast and crew talking more about the characters and the storyline. And I thought it was pretty interesting. Again, it wasn't really anything that we haven't known before, because obviously they can't tell us too much about the series, but it was really cool for us to get introduced to more of the crew members. Obviously, we've seen Ryan Coogler, but it was really cool seeing like the directors and the producers and some of the screenwriters and some of the actors that we haven't seen before kind of give their thoughts about the production and the characters and the storyline. So I thought that was pretty cool. But overall, I'm pretty excited for Ironheart. I'm not like super crazy excited, not like I am for Fantastic Four First Steps or, you know, Doomsday or Secret Wars in the future. But I like the character of Riri Williams in Wakanda Forever, and I was pretty excited to hear that she was going to get her own series in the future. And now we're finally here, and you know, it's too bad that we haven't really gotten too many updates from when it was first announced to, you know, just a couple months ago, and we haven't really gotten too much marketing for the series. So hopefully that doesn't mean that Disney's trying to like hide this project as much as possible and then kind of just release it as quickly as possible and kind of get it over with. Hopefully it's actually pretty good, and hopefully there's some storylines that kind of wrap up phase 5 and set us up for phase 6. But if it does end up just being a self-contained story, then, you know, it is what it is. I think Thunderbolts kind of did a better job at wrapping up phase 5 and setting us up for phase 6, especially with the post-credit scene. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, fingers crossed, hopefully it's good, and we'll see what happens on June 24th.